It was a beautiful day in Sacramento, a serene afternoon being enjoyed by all. At least, that was the way it seemed as I made the drive home from work, but as I came around the corner onto my street, it became apparent that my afternoon was going to be interesting. There was police tape up, and the street was lined with emergency vehicles. I parked my car on the road, just outside of the police tape line. For all the ruckus, the cops and the firefighters seemed rather relaxed as they stood around their vehicles in full gear. The scene was under control. As I walked further on down the road, I began to see what all the commotion was about. Through the bushes, across the street, I could make out a smashed SUV lodged firmly in my neighbor's wall. The people gathered around were quite eager to fill me in on the details of the event. While they explained, I looked at the firefighters and police standing around, watched the helicopter circle in the sky, and thought to myself, what a waste. For what had happened was this. A man had stolen a Suburban in downtown Sacramento. He was spotted by police officers who began a pursuit. As he sped through the streets in a dash for the freeway, he got the behemoth of a vehicle up over 70 miles an hour. The corner of my street has an annoying roundabout that slows up traffic for everybody, and the suspect veered right as he came upon it. He was unable to recover, and the Suburban proceeded through the entryway pillars of the first house and fixed itself in the wall of the second. As the people came out to see what had happened, the man got out of his car and ran through a few of the people and jumped the fence into the back alley. The police arrived shortly after, and the people tried to tell them where he had gone, but to no avail. "Get to the car," the police said to each other as they rushed off after hearing information on their radios. Information they thought to be more recent than eyewitness accounts. Shortly after that, the helicopter went up, and it was clear to all that he was getting away. PG&E was called out to the scene as well, checking for damage to the wires. They were relaxed and seemed pleased to be there, even joking as they were leaving. "Gonna stay late to file this paperwork, Tom?" It's not a story until the media arrives. Obnoxious beings with their station bands blocking the view of the scene. Their cameras were set up on the other side, rudely blocking the view of the cameras on the neighbors' phones. The neighbors were giving interviews to the reporter about what they had seen. She seemed to be more interested in her phone. She held it as if she were texting, but never looked down at the device. I thought this whole thing must bore her, but then also thought she could be amazing at her job and can text interviews without looking. I never asked. After a while, the tow truck showed up, and people began to speculate on how he was going to dislodge the SUV from the house. The tow truck driver was the first and only useful responder to the scene. Cool and calm, he hooked up all the right ropes and chains and positioned himself just so. He pulled the car out just enough to be searched by the waiting police officers. 3 police officers explored the car. They all searched the car thoroughly. 2 had on gloves, but I noticed the 3rd did not. Must have been an oversight. They had a paper bag and filled it with things of importance from the Suburban. The tow truck driver succeeds at getting the massive heap of metal onto his truck bed, adjusting the load more properly once back on the asphalt. The police tell us they found the suspect's wallet inside the Suburban. A nice bit of serendipity, but did they find the suspect's ID, or the person who owned the car, or anything at all? Was this said simply to make us feel better about him getting away? Maybe. The whole incident made me think about the taxes we pay. All these people standing around, the helicopter in the air, suspects still at large. The only professional at the scene that accomplished anything was the talented tow truck driver, and he worked for a private company. Once he had left, there was nothing left to do or see. So the police, the firemen, the news reporters, PG&E truck, and the helicopter packed up and drove off, leaving us, the residents, to discuss why they all came in the first place, and just what is this world coming to.